If you this weekend are working on this content and you're struggling, you can come back to this recording and it's exactly what we said in class. Right? I don't always record this group because like I had been dealing with hard drive space, although if you can believe it, this is now an external hard drive that is 2 terabytes. That's insane that it's this small now. So my hard drive is cleared up, so I can record our class now. So what you're going to want to look for when I upload it to YouTube is it'll say something like Math 7, and then I'll have the date, and I'm going to put 1B, right, with it so you guys know it's your class. So if you struggle over the weekend, please go check my Schoology for a reminder of what we did today. So before we dive into this question of trying to write an expression using a variable and using a coefficient and using a constant, let's remind ourselves of why we use a variable or use a coefficient or use a constant. So take a moment on your own to see if you can remember, why do we use a variable? Why do we use a constant? Or coefficient? Why do we use a constant? If you can't remember, go ahead and start reading these situations to try to highlight the important pieces. I'm only going to give you maybe 30 seconds to try to remember those things. Let's save it for just because I'm going to get lost thinking about it. If you tell me it now, I'm going to be distracted for all of class. What I will let you say is, Douglas, do you remember why we use a variable? Yeah, to represent an unknown. So something we don't know gets represented by a variable. So please make sure we're writing this down if you don't have this written down beneath why we use a variable. Why do we use a coefficient? Aiden or Adam? Cool. Aiden or Adam? I'm trying to incorporate other people too. Adam? Yeah, like Douglas just said. And Aiden, can you remember why we use a constant? Yeah, show what we know. So make sure that you have that vocab on there. We may have talked about that yesterday. I just always want to review. Take. Did I give you guys time to highlight yesterday? Okay, so let's just go ahead and start talking then. So if you come down here to the dental visit question, they tell us just to go is $50. And guys, that's super cheap. That would be with insurance. You would probably still have to pay $50. So hopefully we don't have any cavities, but if we do, they're $100 a pop to fill, and time and pain and not great. So does anyone want to volunteer for what expression we could write here to represent a visit costing $50 and $100 per cavity? Give me more. Yeah, because the 50 only happens once. It is a constant. And guys, here, per does not mean divide. It means somebody already did division. Per can also mean multiply, because remember, division and multiplication are the same thing. So if your dentist told you it's going to be $1,000 to fill your cavities, knowing that it's $100 per cavity, you can calculate that's 10 cavities. Holy cow, I got to stop eating candy. If your dentist tells you your visit total will be $150, we can figure out, oh, I had 1 cavity. That wasn't horrible. I've been cavity free for like 2 years now, just by the way. Little weird flex right there. So, good work. So this is wrong though, because they asked us to write an expression, and I wrote an equation. They also asked us to use n as the variable for cavities. Oh man, I use c. So even though this is really close to correct, if I type this into con, it's wrong. Because I can't just make my own choice. I can't do like the middle school, I know better, which I've been telling some middle schoolers, like I think at this point you've realized we might maybe know better. So if we tell you use variable n, you gotta use variable n. If we tell you write an expression, there should be no equal sign. So guys, technically what I have here above the bracket is what you would want to write. Any questions on that? They're very, very similar, but con would count what I wrote on top wrong. I'm not using the correct variable there. Sarah's situation is different, though. And please tell me, like, if I moved that over too quickly, that's when you would say, like, hey, wait, go back. I appreciate it. I appreciate you telling me to go back, and I appreciate you telling me when you're good. That's equally as important. How is this situation different? Well, first off, there's no dentist involved. But anyone, read this and tell me if you think you know how we could write this. An expression, right? An expression. Don't just shout it out. Like, raise your hand and, like, explain it to me. So, Douglas, how are you starting your expression and why? Yeah, why'd you start with 55? Yeah, that's what Sarah started with, right? Yeah, it's like, why did you start with 55? Well, she started with 55. Why did you do subtraction, though? Yeah, we can toss it to Adam. When you use money, you lose money. I like it. So, you give it away, right? You add a negative, which we could also just write as minus. Now, I could write this as plus negative 3m, but most of us are used to just writing these things like subtraction. Notice, there's no equal sign on either side. I drew them, but I scribbled them out to say we don't want an equal sign here. However, if they then told us, and now she has like $10 left, then that would be an equation if they tell us what it now equals, but they don't, right? They just want an expression. Moving down to garden club. My mom does this. They pay our garden club to go. Well, not our garden club, but where my mom and dad still live. Read through this and make sure you really understand why this one's different. Highlight, underline, take a moment, try to write it out on your paper. Actually, take a couple minutes, try to finish out the last 3, or 4, I guess, that are here. They're all different from each other. So be careful. Each of them is unique. Make sure that when you're writing your expressions, you're writing in pencil. I love the highlighter use, but make sure that we're writing our math in pencil. Aiden, do you have a guess for the garden club one? Aiden? So, sorry, multiply by what? Yeah, we're going to multiply something by 2. What are we going to multiply by 2? Not just 15. I mean, you're right. There's 15, but 15... Yeah, so we're going to write 15t and double it. So guys, you're not writing the equal sign, but you're writing either 2 times 15t or 30t. You could write both of these, but what you would type into Khan Academy is just one of these, right? You would choose one of them. I can either show 15t and then it got doubled, or I could just say, oh, well, that's really $30 an hour. Right, if they double what we're making, it's really... Nope, never have to. I just show it there because, you know, I'm a little extra. Yeah. So, what Miss Meyer is saying is, although it's not required, it's a good idea. There's not much reason not to, because it's just a dot. It does not take much time out of your life to go ahead and write it. If it takes you 3 seconds to make a period, we could probably speed that up a little bit. GameStop has 8 employees in their store. Last month, they sold a total of G games. One of the team members needs to step up his game. Chris sold 17 fewer games than what the team averaged per employee. Ooh, averaged, I have underlined in 2 different colors and highlighted. Ooh, that seems like a really important word. How do we average things? We divide, right? We divide by how many did it or like went into it. So to average our G games here, we're going to take G and divide it by the 8 employees. We then subtract the 17 because Chris did not so great, right? The average of what everybody sold split up among them, Chris did less. This is kind of like when I check your guys' Khan Academy stuff, and we're going to do that on Tuesday because Fridays are way too short, so I decided we can't do Friday Khan Academy because it's just a half hour is not long enough. Some of you, when I look at the average of class time spent working, some of you are less than the average, some of you are more than the average. I don't know for this week. I haven't ran it yet. I won't run the data till either Monday or Tuesday. I'll give you guys through the weekend. G. Man, I don't know how to make a G under, like, lowercase. I know. The problem is up here they use the lowercase g, so I didn't want to use a capital G and switch it. But like I said, I was trained cursive handwriting, so there's certain things I can't let go of, like the tail of the G looping up. Yeah. Yes, because it would continue to the next letter, absolutely. All right, check out the grandmas on your own. If you have not done the grandma questions, check those out. Yeah, I do realize now that how that came out of my mouth sounded a little weird. Was it my grandma voice? Grandma Gertrude! Something like that. I can't make a very good, like, I don't want to say old person voice, but I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Yes, an aged voice. A seasoned. Grandma baked 96 cookies. We don't know this grandma's name. One of the grandchildren, Cindy, received fewer cookies than she would have received had all the cookies been evenly divided among all 8. Now, if we want to try to make this situation a little nicer, let's assume she has like a nut allergy or something that they had to not give her so many cookies, right? They had to like keep some of the cookies from her. But if grandma made 96 cookies and she was going to split them among 8 grandchildren, how do we do a split up cookies? What math do we do? Divide, right? So, okay, take your cookies, divide them. You guys were all very quick to say that. Very, very good. Then, if Cindy received fewer cookies, how do we do fewer? Subtraction. I couldn't until I took Spanish, and you guys take Spanish next year. You'll learn words like pregunta and things like that where the rolled R is kind of necessary, and it starts to kind of develop. Yeah, similar, right? Yeah, you can work on it. It all depends. Like it's like anything else. You just train with it. I thought that was a very interesting point. We had a parent interest meeting last night, and one of the parents asked about, like, what if your child already speaks Spanish? Do they need to take Spanish? We said, well, all of our students speak English, and they take English every single year of their school. Like, there's certain things you learn in school that you wouldn't learn otherwise. Dude, I still learn stuff every single year here that I never knew. Like, when I hear other teachers teaching, I'm like, oh, that's why hypothermia means hypo. It's under. Oh, under temperature. Oh, like, guys, I'm serious. I didn't know that. Like, when I started teaching, I didn't know hypo meant under. I will readily admit that. I was 22 years old and did not know hypo meant under. Some things slip by because if you don't learn them in school. Grandma Gertrude and Grandma Fien put their jewelry together So we have to add them first and then do the division. If you write it out horizontally, you have to have the parentheses. So guys, what I have in red up here has to have the parentheses. What I have in purple, the parentheses are kind of optional because we know that the numerator would happen first anyways. Any questions on the entire front? There's like all of the answers in one shot, and it's being recorded, so there you go. Flip to the back, please. Absolutely. The whole like first half of the back, I'm just going to show you what I want you to highlight and write, then we'll actually practice. So have you guys heard the word algebra before? Awesome. So we are about to do algebra. So if like people ask, oh, what are you doing in math class? The easy answer that you can give is now we're doing algebra. We solve, when equations ask us to solve the equation, we solve using inverse operations. Addition is the inverse of subtraction. Division is the inverse of multiplication. Multiplication is the inverse of division. Subtraction is the inverse of addition. And guys, I would use two different highlighters like I did just right here. This is one of the other reasons why I decided I needed to start making guided notes so you guys can really spend your effort on highlighting and like identifying really the critical pieces and not writing the words down. If you want my honest opinion, I think I've been a kind of not awesome teacher for a little while because we haven't been able to do worksheets and stuff, and I should have been doing this like a month ago, but I'm glad I finally got my butt into gear and got you guys worksheets. Yeah, you get your butt into gear. So that is a like figure of speech that is obviously related to cars, but when you're in a car, if you push on the gas, nothing happens if it's not in gear. So putting a car in gear is like putting it into drive to actually get something done. It's like saying, oh yeah, I want to make my kids notes. I want to make my kids notes. Great, you got to do it. So we're going to solve for m together over here. After we talk about this, I was giving you guys a second to just highlight. So check it. Stop writing and just watch for a second. B is what we would like to solve. Notice that I have it highlighted in green down at the bottom. B is what we're being asked to solve for. So I know we're missing an E, but I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. B is being multiplied by 3 and subtracted by 4. So we undo it first, trying to undo the constant. The minus 4 is our constant. What is the inverse operation of subtraction? Addition. So we add 4, but guys, everyone sketch this line down the middle through your equal signs. When we do something on one side of the equation, which means on the left of the equals or on the right of the equals, we have to do it on both. So one of the things I love about algebra is I'm allowed to do anything I want as long as I do it to both sides. So literally, I could take this and multiply it by 1 billion and purple as long as I do the same thing on right. And you're like, and purple? Why does Hudson love purple? Doesn't matter. Like literally, you can do anything you want as long as you do it on both sides. So if I add 4 over here, this becomes 0, right? A negative 4 and a positive 4. But over here, we do the addition and get 15. This is gone because it became 0. So my left side is just 3b. My right side is just 15. Any questions how I got down to this step? We then say the b is multiplied by 3. How do we undo multiplication? We divide. So 3 divided by 3. I don't like that they cross these out. That's why we're going to do another one together. But that becomes 1b. This that I have highlighted in orange is really a giant 1. So you can put a box around this if you want. This is a giant 1. So 1b equals 5. When they do the division on the right side also, it reduces out to 5. So if we walk through this together, solving for m, what is being done to m? I'm just going to go across the room. Adam, what do you see being done to m over here? And? Yeah, and multiplied by 2, right? So there's an addition of 5 and a multiplication by 2. We aren't. We're just looking at what's being done. So remember, 2m is multiplication. This is exactly what Miss Meyer was just saying. We think you sometimes forget that there is a multiplication dot here. We just don't show it. Does that make sense? Because you're being real quiet now. All right, we'll solve a couple of these and then double check if it makes sense. So Aiden, how do we undo addition, or what's the inverse operation? Subtraction. So we subtract 5 on both sides. Adam, if you were looking at what I have in green, ignore that right now. If you were looking at this, don't. Okay. So then, once we did the positive 5 and the negative 5 make 0, guys, trapdoor, you have to do the math over here. I even will accidentally forget to do the math and just bring 13 down. I have to subtract 5 and I actually get 8. Douglas, how do I undo multiplication? Division. And we get m equals 4. I want you guys to attack the next 3 on your own, where it says solve for each variable below. I would again highlight boom and boom. And by the way, the check process, we showed it to you right here. I'll stop moving my notes in a second. Hey, just watch up here for a second. I'll stop moving my notes in a second. We showed you the check process here. But over here, if m equals 4, I can check by plugging it in. You don't have to write this. I just want you to see it. So 2 times, well, m is now 4, is 8, plus 5 more. Is that equal to 13? Yes. So when we check it, we just ask ourselves, is this all still what it should be? So come down here to these problems, and you'll see that the first 2 are going to start just like the other one with undoing addition or subtraction. And it looks like both of these are going to undo subtraction first. Miss Meyer, did anyone tell you that we're switching class 3 and AO, so next? Good. Yeah, so AO is next. That's what I thought, is that you should have Learning Center next. I'm just going to keep circling the room. Adam, what do we want to do first in this equation? Yeah. And actually, you could say that for either of these. Both of those equations start by adding 7. I don't know what that just was. Ghosts. So now we have on this first equation, 48 equals 12d. Aiden, how do I undo multiplication by 12? Divide by 12, right? On both sides, so make sure we do it on both sides. Equals 4. Guys, if you have a separate color or a colored pencil, or if you just want to highlight the stuff that we're doing on both sides, you just got to get it in your brain that we have to be fair. And I know life isn't fair, but we are fair. Math is fair. We got to do it on both sides. There's a really funny scene that I'll probably have to show you guys next week from a movie called Monty Python on the Quest of the Holy Grail, where they're trying to relate that a woman is a witch Because back, if you've never heard of the Salem witch trials, there was a whole thing about people accusing people of being witches. And they do it by saying, if she weighs the same as a duck, and there's a whole, it's a joke. It's a giant, like, mathematical joke. You'll appreciate it. I really think you will. But they put her on a balance, which, if you've never seen a balance scale, it's like where you put gold on one side and, like, weights on the other side to figure out how much gold you have. If you take something off of one side, it'll go up. Unless you take something off of the other side that's equal, and then they stay balanced. So the point of what we're doing here is keeping things balanced, right? If I do it on one side, I got to do it on the other side. I literally have a balance scale. I don't know where it is. It's in a box in the gym somewhere. I told it to come over here. It's gone. So normally I would show you guys, if I take something off this side, I got to take something off this. I don't know where it is. I might build another one because it's lost and I don't know if it's ever going to come back. But then I would have to build something that's equally weighted, and that's a little tricky. All right, over here we're going to start by adding 7. But then, how do we undo division? Multiplication. So we're going to multiply by 2 on both sides. Guys, do not overthink this. On the right side, we were undoing. We don't have to do anything except for, like, cross stuff out. The left side needs math to be done. Right, we got to do 2 times 9. Now I got to jump down to the next section because I am just about out of time. When it looks like there is distribution to be done. Guys, jump down here with me. This looks like it wants to multiply by 2. You could do that and then solve it like what we've been doing. Or stop the multiplication from ever happening by dividing by 2. That leaves you with just what was in the parentheses. And now it's quicker to solve. So you don't have to do this method, but in our Schoology page, I am dropping that link right now. And actually, I'm going to change it to be at the end of the video. So, share, start here, copy. Here's what's up. If you want to see the rest of these problems solved, because we are out of time now, I did it in my other class. I just dropped that video right here in our Schoology page. So if you go look at updates, it says solving equations, because I just gave it a quick title of that. Click on that, and it will jump you to that spot in the video at 43 minutes, where it's these final, like the bottom of the back of the paper, because we got to get out of here. Like, I'm out of time. I got to get you guys out of here. So that's on Schoology if you'd like to see those. We will practice more of those next week, but your Khan Academy is due Monday. So if you need help, please come try to get it for me today. Come to extensions. Or I don't even know what the schedule is later today. Or email me, right? Always the best option because I see those all the time. Like every time I sit down and pull my phone out, I pretty much check my email. Don't take my highlighters. Thief! Monday, because it's what we just did today. Yeah. So I figured if it's not, then I know if they don't have it done, then on Tuesday I can bug them about it. I probably won't post the grades until Tuesday. You know what I mean? I'll give them a grace day, but I want them to be motivated. Between you and me, I have no idea what I'm doing in my next class. Well, I guess between you and me and anybody watching the video that I'm still recording, which is gonna be nobody.